We are deep diving into our shoulder series. So from the very first video that I took you through our shoulder clearances where we use a band, whether you've got a band like this would be gold standard because it's a bit more flexible. You can get a little bit of stretch out of it and a little bit of resistance. Or a broomstick, you could use a towel, you could use your jumper at work. This one is literally just getting you to open up those pecs, getting your shoulder range to increase from a rotation perspective. The goal is to get it all the way over the top, touching your bum down the back, and then all the way to the front. If you can't get that range, firstly, try a different object. Maybe the band's too strong, get a weaker band. Otherwise, we probably need to do a bit more of a deep dive into what's restricting your shoulder. These shoulder clearances are really about opening up the glenohumeral joint. So basically where the ball and socket joint is, we're getting rotation in that specific joint. What we're going to move on to is some exercises that help create range of motion between your scapula, your shoulder blade, and your thoracic cage, so your rib cage basically. What happens is if we reach forward, for example, what should happen, reach forward, arm goes, shoulder joint goes, shoulder blade goes, and then we start to reach round. If we lose range of motion at any of those junctures, it puts pressure on the junctures beside it. So what we're working on now is a little bit more scapular movement, so shoulder blade movement, as opposed to glenohumeral rotation. So the first one we're going to do is a variation of our thoracic rotation or thread the needle, where we're getting a little bit more into what's called an arm bar, getting a bit more stretch through our rhomboids and our traps at the back. We're going to reach all the way around, let that left arm bend so our shoulder ends up on the floor. You should feel a stretch from your lat, where your lat attaches to your pelvis, so your left butt cheek, all the way down to the back of the shoulder. To do that, you can use this left hand, push into the ground so that you're twisting away. If you want a little bit more, we can push up onto that foot. Arm comes through, dropping down, so head and shoulder are on the floor. Reach, pushing with this right hand this time, trying to twist and exaggerate that twist into the floor. That's going to give you a nice stretch through the back of your shoulder and through the back of your thoracic spine. Now we're going to move to the front, get a little bit more length through our pecs. Out to the sides, nice and straight. And we are going to simply bend this left arm up and rotate away from our right arm. So you should feel through the front here, through the pec, through the bicep, anterior deltoid, a nice big stretch. We can even add a bit of a scorpion in with our leg, and that becomes more of a bicep. With the other side. Now, obviously this one not so easy to do when you're working from the office, but still set your alarm at home. Get yourself up out of your desk when you're working from home. Don't just go to the fridge, grab a glass of water, do these first, and then have your snack. So those two exercises are variations where we're moving our body and we're stretching our arm and our shoulder blade away from our rib cage. So they're called open chain, where your hand is not holding on to anything. It's freely mobile or freely movable, and we're reaching it away from our body. What we're going to do now is more of a closed chain upper body exercise. It's called a scap lunge matrix. So it might sound a little bit complicated, scap being scapula, shoulder blade. We're anchoring our arm and our scapula by holding onto the rig here, and we're going to pull our body away from the shoulder blade. So to do that, we're going to use the rest of our body and our leg as a lever. Basically just stepping back, reaching as far as we can, creating this big line of pull, this big stretch through our lat. But as you can see, my shoulder blade is actually coming away from my rib cage. So we're not just keeping it together and reaching our leg back, we're creating distance between the scap and our thoracic spine and using our leg as a lever to reach away as far as we can and increase that range of motion. So you will feel a stretch, but we also want this to be a mobility exercise, meaning we want movement of the scap, not just to feel the muscle stretch. So we're going to come up, Hands should be about shoulder height. Stepping back, feeling that stretch a little bit, and then we're going to go round like a clock. So we've just been to 6, we're going to go to 5, come back up nice and tall, 4, 3, and if you can, all the way around to 2. This basically moves that rib cage on an angle to try and create different ranges and planes of motion for that shoulder blade. The next exercise we're going to go through is similar to our hip pails and rails or cars, where we're going to get some deep activation in our glenohumeral rotators. So your rotator cuff, you might have heard that before. It is quite common to get injured in your rotator cuff if you do too many overhead things or if you're carrying kids a lot. Basically, in that ball and socket joint, there's not a hell of a lot of space, and you've got lots of muscles that connect in there, connective tissue, cartilage, etc. So if, for example, your rotator cuff is a little bit out of whack, there's one muscle that's overpowering the others, you might not sit as centered, and you might get a little bit of pinching in that rotator cuff. So what we're trying to do is get even activation through all 4 muscles that make up your rotator cuff. So there'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, and we want to really work on control of that rotation. This is a pretty advanced variation, so there is a little bit of upper body strength required, but focus on the fact that you're rotating through that shoulder. So you want the shoulder or your arm to be at 90 degrees from your body. Again, this is closed chain, so we're anchoring our arm and we're moving our body around it, similar to what we did with the scapulothoracic matrix. So different variations, trying to get a lot more control and strength through your shoulders. If you do have a shoulder injury, there's probably a hell of a lot of steps before we get to something like this, so make sure that you come in and see us and we can work through what those specific exercises might be for you. With the exception of this one, all the other exercises we did today you can do throughout your workday. So again, this is what it's all been about the last 5 weeks. Set those alarms, 10, 12, 2 and 4, break up your workday, get up out of your seat and actually get yourself moving a little bit. This is the last deep dive of the series, so we've gone through all 4 now. Next week, we'll have a whole new edition. We'll see you then.